You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
Hello and welcome to Comics with My Kids special crossover event. Today it's 2 dads, 2 kids, and 2 reviews. I'm your host, Matt D, and with me today is Logan.
Logan D.
And we have with us, Logan, can you tell us who we have with us today?
Richard S. and Dusty S.
Thank you, Richard and Dusty, for coming on.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for coming.
So today is a special episode. We've got, we're going to be reviewing 2 books as our crossover classics go. We're going to let Richard and Dusty tell us a little bit about a special book that they read. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Richard. Richard, why don't you tell us the name of the book that you read and a little bit about the story?
A book that we are reviewing is Batman, Death in the Family. And it's about that Robin is trying to find his real mom because his mom that died wasn't really his mom. So he's trying to find his real mom.
It's a really great story. And he's looking for his mom. Who does he run into? What's the big bad guy that he runs into in the story?
He runs into Joker. I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Without revealing the end just yet, I'm going to go ahead and click it over to Dusty so he can tell us a little bit about the history of Death in the Family.
Okay.
So this is probably one of the most, if not the most, one of the most iconic Batman stories. It involves Jason Todd as the Robin. And this was only a few years into Jason Todd being Robin. The history goes that Dick Grayson had grown up and joined the Teen Titans and left Batman. And the writers of Batman wanted their Robin back, but they had actually aged Dick Grayson up. He was no longer a teenager telling jokes and snide comments, but instead he had grown up, turned into an adult, and was the leader of the Teen Titans. So the solution they came up with was, let's create a new Robin. And that's where Jason Todd came along in the early 80s. And after Robin being around for about 40, 50 years prior to that. So now we had a new Robin. This Robin, as typical Bruce Wayne fashion, brought in an orphan whose parents had passed away and took him under their wings. Robin was, in this case, Jason Todd was trying to jack the wheels of the Batmobile, and that's how he was making money. So Batman takes him in and makes him his ward, explains to him that Bruce Wayne takes him in, explains to him that he's Batman, and asks him to be his Robin. And so through then, though, over the years, the few years that Jason Todd was Robin, the fans didn't really like they didn't really grow to like Jason Todd. He's a lot different than Dick Grayson. He had an attitude, short temper. So they came up with this idea for this great event that we're talking about here, the Death in the Family. And it was about Robin's search, as Richard said, Robin's search for his biological mother. He was having a tough time dealing with his parents' death, lashing out at Batman. So he goes back to his old neighborhood just searching for answers. And he finds one of his old neighbors remembered him and saved a box of papers. And he finds his birth certificate. And in there, his birth certificate reveals that his stepmother, who he thought was his mother, wasn't. And so this begins Robin's quest to find his real mother. And there's 3 women. The only thing he knows on his birth certificate is her name begins with an S. The rest is smudged out. So he looks in his dad's address book, and it discloses that he's got 3 women whose names begin with an S, and he's narrowed it down. It's got to be these 3 women. Ran it through the Batcave, comes up with the solution that it's one of these 3 women, and the book is set about his quest to find his mother. And the side quest is that the Joker has stolen a nuclear weapon and is about to sell it in the Middle East. And Robin's run away to go find his mother, and Bruce has to choose: do I go help Robin, or do I go after Joker to stop these lives, stop him from selling this weapon and hurting thousands or millions of lives? So, how much further you want me to go, Matt? I could continue going, but I think that gives some of the background. I haven't given the key part yet with the phone number and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Why don't we then kick it over to Richard? So Richard, what's the big surprise about the book?
So the big surprise is...
Oh, wait, hold on. Folks, this is going to be a spoiler-laden episode, so hold your hats. Go ahead, Richard.
Robin dies.
What? He dies?
Yes.
How?
He got captured by the Joker and he couldn't escape because the door was locked. And he got trapped inside the building and Joker put a bomb in there. And he was able to get out of the rope but wasn't able to unlock the door. And then the whole building exploded and he died.
But he's a hero. Why would he die? Well, what are the writers thinking? I mean, surely.
Wait.
Batman could have saved him.
In the middle of the book, that's like, do you want Robin to die or do you want him not to die? And most people said they want him to die.
Wait. People got to decide?
Yes, if Robin lives or dies.
How?
They just said, call this number, vote, and then you're done. Whoever has the most votes on this side wins, and it happens.
So this is what made it such an iconic comic book event, because the readers got to decide. They had one day, 24 hours on September 15th, 1998, to dial a 1-900 number. And those of us who are older know that was the way that businesses made money, was calling a 900 number, and they would charge you 50 cents or $1 or more to make a phone call. And so they were you call in that 24-hour period, one number if you wanted Robin to live and another number if you wanted Robin to die. And unbelievably, the fans voted. It was very close. In fact, there was less than 75 votes difference between Robin living and Robin dying. And the authors didn't know, and the issue was coming out relatively quickly. So they had actually printed a Robin Lives version and a Robin Dies version.
That is crazy. Can you imagine something like that today, Richard?
I can't believe that. And also, he actually finds his mom, and his mom dies with him.
Oh man, talk about a double hit to the heart.
Yep, and also another spoiler: his mom was kind of friends with Joker.
Oh, so Richard, what did you think of that story?
I thought it was a good book.
Yeah. So Logan, since we're talking about death, why don't you go ahead and tell Richard and Dusty what book we read?
The book was The Death of Superman. And just like it sounds like, it's about the death of Superman.
All right. So how does the story happen? Set it up for us, Logan.
So,
what is the death of Superman?
It starts off with, you see this weird green fist punching at this metal wall. Punch, punch, punch. And then you see his glove starts to rip from punching so much. And spikes come out of his glove. And then he's now destroying the metal and breaks out. And we later discover that they call him Doomsday for a great reason. Because in one of the parts, he had one of his arms tied behind his back and stopped a truck.
And how does Doomsday get to kill Superman?
They keep fighting for like forever because they're both really strong and fighting hard. And
okay.
Also, do you know what's funny?
What?
Superman was worrying that Doomsday was gonna go to Metropolis that was 60 miles away because of a dumb ad that got in his head. So he tried to get him farther away. Then Doomsday made a huge jump, and guess what he landed on?
Metropolis.
Metropolis, 50 miles. And then guess what?
What?
He jumped 50 miles.
Wow.
Crazy jumper. He's got like super
Well,
jump.
likely fly, because he must have actually had flu.
No, he jumps.
No, actually, he jumps. His legs are so strong he can jump 50 some odd miles. Go ahead and give you a little bit about the breakdown of the death of Superman. So the death of Superman was an event that DC did back in 1992 and 93. The sales of the Superman book was going down. They made a big announcement that they were going to shake things up in the world of Superman with the Superman family. And they announced the death of Superman. By announcing that death, a lot of speculators said, well, hey, if you buy this book, it's going to be a collector's item. The comic market was kind of going down, but they were hoping that by promoting this, it would help sales. And then next thing you know, people would be buying books off the shelf. The story itself introduced us to a character called Doomsday. As Logan had mentioned, Doomsday basically cuts a swath of destruction from where he busted out in the middle of America all the way to Metropolis on the east side, or the east coast.
And his hands are so big that he can hold a guy as tall as Dad in his one hand.
Yeah. And if it wasn't
like holding him from the neck or waist or from both feet.
From the waist to the chest.
That's how big his hands are?
Huge. I mean, they're huge.
That's got to be thick.
When Doomsday was cutting a swath of destruction through the United States, the then Justice League shows up to try to stop him, and he annihilates the entire Justice League. And only Superman, with the help of a few friends, was able to at least try to stop him, to the point where only Superman was the last man standing, and he had a big bash-out brawl right in the middle of Metropolis, and it was the sacrifice of Superman to stop Doomsday that caused him to die.
And Doomsday's really strong, and he's covered with spikes because his suit starts ripping off, and you can see that he's covered in spikes.
But Superman can't die by him, right?
He can.
Oh no, he died.
But I thought Superman was so strong.
It's his death of Superman.
But I thought Superman was so strong that like there's only one thing that can kill him.
That's Doomsday.
That was Doomsday. Yep, Doomsday was so strong he also beat the heck out of Superman, and they both died. Well, I take that back.
I think Richard's saying he thought only kryptonite was the only thing that kills Superman.
That only weakens him. Gold and kryptonite will kill him, though. Well, 2 strikes will take away his powers. 2 strikes of gold and kryptonite, Superman's powers are gone.
Doomsday was so powerful, and the punches were so massive that it caused so much internal bleeding that Superman just couldn't handle it anymore, and he died.
Mm-hmm.
And how did the bad guy die?
Well, the bad guy, I take that back. The bad guy didn't die. He just got knocked out really bad.
Oh.
And in another book, you find out what happens to Doomsday's body, and that gets explained at another story. But I'll give you a little tease. Doomsday's body got sent out into space just to keep Earth safe. So, Logan, what did you think of the death of Superman? Did you really like the book?
I liked it. Although I think it's crazy how all of the superheroes that were there, all of their attacking combined, did not stop Doomsday. After all their attacks combined, he still fought them harder.
Gotcha.
Hit him with fire, ice, whatever the ring power is. From Guy Gardner, who's apparently blind.
So I'm gonna take a question over to Richard real quick. So Richard, in your book, what did you think of the artwork of the Death in the Family?
I think the artwork was good.
Was there anything that was notable about it that you really liked?
What
like the
color
whole
was
book.
Batman's
Okay.
cape and costume? Do you remember? His cowl and his cape?
Blue?
That's a little
Blue?
bit different than what it is now. If you look in the comic books now or watch the movies now, what color is his cape and cowl?
Black. It's black.
Yeah, some changes over time from when
And
I was a kid to now of how Batman's changed, huh? So do you like
Yeah.
him better as he looks now in the comics, or do you like him better back in my comics?
That's a tough question.
How about this? Do you like him blue or black? Not combined, because that's not good. He's not black and blue.
That's a hard question.
Well, Richard, did you notice that the comic that your dad had you read is a lot more colorful than some of today's versions of Batman?
No, because I don't read
Yeah,
Batman.
he doesn't read Batman currently.
Here's
Sorry,
a question.
Okay. No problem. No problem.
but you've seen some of the Batman
Richard, I got a
cartoons.
question for
Oh, I'm sorry, Logan. Go ahead.
I got a question for you. Were one of those two Robins called Nightwing?
Dick Grayson, as he grows up, becomes Nightwing, but he's not in this book. There is a mention of him in the book where after Jason Todd dies, Alfred asks Bruce Wayne if he wants him to contact Dick Grayson, and Batman is very affected by this. And I don't know, Matt, if you want to talk, if we are going to talk about some of that stuff later, you and I, but overall. Batman is very affected by the fact that he lost his ward, that he had looked to help him out and take him and felt responsibility for making sure he is safe. And so he doesn't want this to happen again. So he says there won't be any more Robins.
Yeah, if you want to go more into that now, that's fine.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of things that still happen in this book. The death in the family could have went a lot of different ways. As Richard said, Robin finds his real mother, and at the end of his life, his final act of heroism is he threw his body in front of the blast to shield his mother, to protect her, and she lived long enough to, as Batman gets to the scene, Batman finds her. He could tell she's in bad shape, but she says that it was the Joker and that Robin saved her life. So Batman then finds Robin's body and
until she died.
Yeah, then she dies, and then Batman finds Robin's body, and Robin's already dead. But where the voting happened, it could have just been death in the family, being Robin's mother died, or it didn't have to be Robin. So the death could have been just a death in Robin's family, another death. He's already experienced his real father and stepmother dying, and now he had the possibility of experiencing that there. So that was where the writers had that option. But then there's 4 books in the series. That's in book 3 that we find out Robin's dead. So the 4th book, Superman comes to stop Batman from seeking revenge against the Joker. And the Joker has been made by the country of Iran their ambassador to the United Nations, and he's going to speak at the United Nations, and he has, in typical Joker fashion, plans there as well. And Batman is out for revenge because Jason Todd has been killed, and so he wants revenge. As Batman tends to be, vigilante is what Batman's known for. Well, he's definitely going after the Joker, and Superman intervenes, but we're left at the end of book 4 with some questions about the fate of some of the characters still, even though we already know what's happened to Robin. And killing off superheroes was not uncommon. There have been the fact that Batman has died a few times. Superman has died a few times. If you go into the Marvel universe, Captain America's died. So these events here, though, were game-changing events because in the case of our book, it was the first time that the viewers, the readers, had the option to determine the fate of one of the comic book characters. And in your book, Matt, as you said, the sales were plummeting, and as a result, there was a tremendous spike in people who went out and bought that book. So it did get that. The thing that comic book collectors realize, though, the book is only worth something if there's a limited supply, and there was a tremendous supply of this book. People were ordering hundreds of copies thinking they were going to hold it and sell it. Well, the publisher just kept printing more. So if they keep printing more, then there's not an endless supply, and it doesn't make the rarity there. And you could get, when I checked, I don't have this book, but I actually looked to buy it recently within the past 5 years, and you were still able to buy The Death of Superman for under $10.
Oh, Logan has my trade paperback copy, which you can find for $5 on eBay. And the actual issue 75, I've found at conventions in like the dollar bin, like multiple copies of them, copies that still have. And again, it was a promotional thing. They had it in a black bag with the Death of Superman logo on it, with a blood splattered Superman logo. Richard, you got a question?
Yeah, I was gonna say that I think that in Death in the Family, like when I read all the way to the end, it looked like Batman already got his revenge. Like Joker was in a helicopter trying to escape, got shot, and stay in the boat. But Batman got up before he would drown, and Joker didn't even move. And he came on the water. And it's like, I think that he already got his revenge by killing Joker.
But Joker didn't die, because he shows up later.
Yes, but we don't know that at the end of this book.
Oh, that's true. We don't. So, Richard, in the artwork, what did you think of the Joker?
I think that his chin looked kind of weird.
Yeah, he kind of had like a long chin, didn't he?
Yeah, it's like in the movies now it's short, but now it's like long.
It kind of gave you like almost like a scary look to it, didn't it?
Yeah, it's like this has like now, and then when later on, like they just shaved off his chin of that long and made him shorter chin.
Crazy, huh? All right. Well, I'm gonna switch gears again. I'm gonna pull Logan into this about the artwork. So, Logan, what was the one neat thing about the artwork in the Death of Superman?
I kind of think like the panels are getting less and less. And like one page got down to 3 panels and jumped all the way back up to 12, and then went down to, and then started going down.
What happened in the last issue? How many panels were on a page?
They had 2 panels on pretty much every page.
Yeah, and it was almost like a countdown. As you read the book, you go from a lengthy story with multiple panels down to single page artwork. And what was the last page? Wasn't it a big fold out?
Yeah, it was all one page. The 2 pages together equals 1.
So what'd you think about that?
I thought that was cool. Although that's this is the same thing that happened with the panels is the same thing that happened with a book I read called Secret Wars. It's one of my favorite books. Actually, it is my favorite book.
So if you were going to tell someone about this book and you were talking about the art, what would that last page invoke? I mean, how'd you feel when you saw that last page?
I felt a little sad because it's upsetting to see a superhero die.
A superhero died in our book.
How'd that make you feel, Richard?
I was a little bit sad.
Logan, I picked this book because I wanted you to read something that shows what a hero's sacrifice is like in the comic world. What did you think about that sacrifice?
I thought it was a huge sacrifice. He sacrificed himself for the entire universe.
So
Well
do
planned.
you think that makes Superman a hero?
Yeah.
What about you, Richard? In your book, Jason Todd kind of sacrificed himself to save his mom. How'd that make you feel?
I said what I wasn't happy about is that he didn't really save his mom.
Well, let me put these last couple questions in, and then we'll wrap this up. So, Dusty, what was the main reason you picked this book for Richard?
This was really the first where I started collecting comics, and I didn't know what I was getting into with this book. I had just gotten my first job. Yeah, I'd seen comics. I had been given used comics, beat up comics of my uncles and stuff like that. But I had just gotten my first job as a bagger at a grocery store, and now I had some disposable income, and the comic book store was around the corner, so I went in and I bought the first issue of Batman, because Batman was, my hero. You also had Batman movies were coming out. I watched Batman, the Burt Ward and Adam West series from the 60s all the time. So went and bought Batman comics, and this was the first one that I bought and was completely taken back first because I didn't know who Jason Todd was, and didn't know that Dick Grayson wasn't Robin anymore. And then also the fact that they killed somebody. I was begging my mom and dad, can I please call? And it was 50 cents. And they're like, no, you can't call. You're not spending 50 cents on that. And I'll give you the 50 cents. And no, still you can't. So I couldn't vote. And I would have voted to save Robin. I wouldn't have voted to kill him if there's any question as to where I lied with it. But, I just thought that was great. And that's what really sucked me in even more to, I still collect Batman comics today. And I have other comics, but Batman I've been loyal to throughout the years, even when I didn't have disposable income and had to stop collecting for a period of time. Once I got back to buying issues again, it was back to Batman. So and to share that with Richard, to say, hey, look, this is what I read, and I think this is a great story. That's why when you reached out to me and said, hey, what do you think about joining us on one of these episodes and picking a issue or a trade paperback to have Richard read and share with him? Instantly, I went to Death in the Family, not only because of what it did to the comic industry at the time, of how controversial it was and shocking it was. With yours, it was announced months ahead of time that we're going to kill Superman. With this one here, people didn't know what the outcome was until the vote had happened, and it was a week later that the books were on the shelf. So it wasn't a big press event ahead of time, and a lot of people were caught off guard. So there was that, but then also what it meant to me as a comic book collector and how I got sucked in.
That's awesome. I mean, I totally get that. And Richard, now that you've read Death in the Family, does that make you want to read more of Batman from the time that your dad read the comic books?
It makes me want to see the movie.
All right. So the reason why I had Logan read Death of Superman is that I was never a big Superman fan when I was younger reading comic books. I was big into Marvel. And then they made that big announcement back in 92, 93 when they were going to kill Superman. And it sucked me in. And it kind of got me reading Superman. It got me reading more of the DC comic books. And because of Death of Superman, it kind of was the thing that jump-started my comic collecting. And it was nice to be able to share that same book with Logan and kind of show him what a superhero what type of superhero Superman is, that he'd be willing to sacrifice himself for the greater good to save hundreds or millions of people. Even though he wound up not really taking Doomsday's life, he did manage to stop Doomsday, because much like Mark Waid said in a interview, Superman doesn't kill.
But I thought it was Batman who didn't kill.
Well, they both don't.
They're the good guys, essentially. That's the easy answer.
Yes.
Good guys, don't kill. They follow the law. Batman may break and bend the law some, but ultimately, good guys don't kill.
Exactly. So Logan, now that you've read Death of Superman, do you want to read more?
Not really. No.
Not really.
Kind of the same as me.
There's not that
Alright.
much in.
Same as you, Richard?
Well, kind of, because I kind of don't really want to see it. I want to see the movie.
Gotcha. All right. Well, last question for you, Logan. So I have a copy of Death in the Family, Logan. Do you want to read it?
I'll read it.
Richard, Uncle Matt has a copy of not Death in the Family, of the Death of Superman. Uncle Matt has a copy of Death of Superman. Would you like Logan to bring it down when he comes and visits and let you read it?
Yes.
Well, folks, this has been Comics with My Kids. I'm Matt D.
And I'm Logan D.
I'm Dusty S.
And I'm Richard S.
And thank you for listening. If you want to hear future other episodes of our podcast, go check out the comicscornerbox.blogspot.com or check us out on Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Anchor FM. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye. Daddy?
I don't think they need me to say bye.
Yes, they do.
All right, goodbye.
It's okay.
Okay.
We read The Death of Superman. What?
Are you okay? Are you okay, Dusty?
I just laughing so hard because I drank 6 gallons of pop right before we started. Now I gotta go in the middle, and I missed everything I was supposed to be listening to.
Told you to stop drinking that pop, Logan.
I just drink a can.
Which is a lot.
Yeah.
It's a baby can.
Either
It's
way,
still
buddy,
a lot.
we
That's still
go-
a lot.
We go before we start the podcast. All right.
All right, well, I'm gonna step out now. I gotta go take a deuce. I'll see you guys in an hour.
Professionalism at its best. All right, Logan. Can you tell us again what was the book that we read?